Greetings and salutations, listener. It is I, Eric J. Chucky, joined, as always, by the boy.
Hey.
This is the Two Nerds Podcast, and we're talking about that year we just left behind, 2019, if you follow our star calendar.
If you don't, there is a simple mathematical conversion to get you to the Earth year, but that's proprietary information, and we're not going to share it. So, yeah, we do a year in review pretty much every year, and the categories are usually the same. Sometimes we cut categories if there's nothing applicable.
I don't mean to misadvertise. We haven't done a year in review for years where we haven't been doing the podcast.
You are insufferable sometimes.
The disappointment on his face, listener.
Just 1 second.
Yeah. I wish I hadn't already opened mine, otherwise that'd be a really good bit.
Dueling can open. We just bring 5 cans.
Yeah. That would only end, well, now we gotta drink all these. We talk about the year we had. It's a really easy topic for a podcast. I mean, it's a really great way to bring the year together and just relive some of our best memories of the year that had just died.
You make jokes, but I actually really do like doing these because it reminds me of all the good shit that happened in a year. And sometimes years aren't great. 2019 was, though. 2019 was, on the whole, for me personally, a decent year.
The year of D&D continues into 2020, which is the double crit year. That's some good marketing that I don't think anyone is actually using. I mean, I've seen it as a meme, but, you know.
Maybe we'll start hashtagging the year of D&D podcast like double crit from now on.
Sure, we might get another viewer out of it.
Yeah, woo. Every one of you count. Shall we begin?
I think we shall.
All right. You go first.
Okay. As a reminder to everybody, this is not a review of the things that came out in 2019. We're old and only have so much time on our hands, and there's so much stuff. This is a review of things we did in 2019. Now, some of that may be stuff that did come out in 2019. In fact, this year, a lot of it was, but that is not a requisite.
And is not the usual. So, I mean, if that's not the case...
When you go back and listen to our 1972 podcast, you might find some stuff that we were doing then that was maybe from the 50s. You know?
Oh, no, those the platform for those went down. They don't do 8-track podcasts anymore.
Oh, yeah.
We're eternal. Anyway, for the first category is favorite video game of the year.
Yes. There are a lot that I could probably say were my favorite. A lot that I probably should think were my favorite. But the one that I dreamt about literally every night as I was playing it until I finished it was Hypnospace Outlaw.
That's perfectly fair.
I haven't dreamt about a video game that I was actively playing since Final Fantasy VI in like high school. And even then, that was just like I was Sabin and I was sprites. There wasn't a lot of detail to it. And it's kind of weird, too, because Hypnospace Outlaw is a thing that takes place while you're asleep. You surf the sleep internet. It's really cool. Check it out if you love retro stuff, especially like early 90s stuff. So that it was affecting me with dreams about it was... strange. Honorable mention for Night in the Woods. All controversy aside, it is an excellent game and an excellent look at mental issues and social issues, and it was a good story.
Yep, that's absolutely fair. For me, I didn't play either of those games, so I don't really have a lot to contribute.
No.
For me, 2019 was actually kind of a big year for video games. I played a lot of video games I like a lot in 2019. It was a good year for me. There's a lot of honorable mentions for me this time, but I only really wrote down the winners. I'm just going to do the honorable mentions off the top of my head.
Sure, live your life.
But the winner, the thing I chose for Game of the Year was the one that I was so damned good, I didn't think when I played it in, like, January that I was going to play any game I liked better this year, and I ended up being right. Spider-Man for the PS4 is astoundingly good. Even now, when I look back on it, it is such a good video game. It is so tight and so well made, and it's one of the better Spider-Man stories.
I'm looking forward to getting back into it at some point. Now that the PS4 and I are done hating each other.
Yeah, now that the feud is ended. The honorable mentions for me are basically the other big game. Well, most of them I don't think came out this year. Almost all of them, in fact, didn't come out this year. But they were the games I played this year, and they were really fun. Like Shadow of the Tomb Raider was a great cap-off to that trilogy of games. They'll probably make another one so long as they keep making money. But it did a lot of character development for Lara Croft that I really like, that version of Lara Croft. And I really like where the game left her, and the game itself was really fun. Just Cause 4 was fun. Not like a super deep game. I beat it pretty quick, but it was a good time. But the biggest honorable mention goes to Red Dead Redemption 2, a game I like so much it almost beat out Spider-Man for the main spot. But ultimately, Spider-Man's just a better video game.
And we got that like on Black Friday.
Yeah, we got that in November. Yeah. So
there's a late entrant sliding in there. All right, well, let's move on to our favorite movie. I believe we are in agreement on this one.
Oh, yeah. I think if you had picked something else, we would be having a very robust discussion about it.
That, of course, is Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, of course. It's Endgame. Of course it's fucking Endgame.
Yes, definitely Endgame. There are movies I saw this year that I think maybe I might have liked better as an experience. Knives Out comes to mind. I had a really good time watching that movie. It was one of those things that I was in a shitty mood going to the theater when they instituted their reserved seating stuff, and it surprised me, so I didn't have the time to reserve my seating in advance at home on the computer like an adult. And then all of the trailers except for like one were so like offensively bad. Like, stop making words kind of bad. But then this movie turned me around, was Knives Out. But nothing was an experience the same way Endgame was.
I feel like there wasn't really a chance for any movie this year to beat Endgame. That might have contributed to why I only, until we did the run-up to Rise of Skywalker and I watched all the main saga Star Wars movies, I'd only seen like 5 movies this year. Because when I watched Endgame, at that point, I knew there wasn't a single movie in that calendar year that was going to come close to its taillights. Because it had a really, really unfair advantage of being the culmination of more than 20 movies. It is hands down the biggest series conclusion in movie history.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And there was just, for me, because I like Marvel movies, and all the criticisms of them they get, I don't care about, to be honest. Like of the Marvel movie in general. They're not things that bother me.
It's just popular, and people want to hate it because it's popular and to get their internet clicks. That's
all. But I like those movies a lot.
Yeah.
I like almost all the Marvel movies a lot. So the conclusion to the overarching narrative of the last 10 years of cinema for a whole series of movies that my top 10 favorite movies are probably mostly Marvel movies at this point. Yeah, nothing was ever going to fucking come close to that experience. I might have watched better movies this year, maybe. I don't think so. I might, but there was nothing that was ever going to come close to the experience of Endgame for me.
Yeah, I have to agree. That may have been a once-in-a-lifetime sort of thing, as December proved. So, moving on to the TV show.
Hey!
I mean, you said the last one, I guess. I'll say this one. Our favorite TV show and or web show, technically speaking. I actually dropped a lot more web shows this year than ever before. Like, let's talk about the TV show first. And we talked about it a lot, so let's just get it out of the way. It's The Mandalorian.
We did like a whole podcast that was more than half of it was just praising The Mandalorian, and that it gets Star Wars on a fundamental level that no one since the crew of The Empire Strikes Back has gotten Star Wars. Not even George Lucas has gotten Star Wars this well since then.
I've dropped a lot of shows, and not for like any like aggressive reason, like, oh, you're a bad person now, I can't watch you, but just more like,
I'm done with you.
I don't care anymore.
We're bored now.
Your content isn't funny and, or interesting or whatever.
I did that a couple years ago, to be honest.
Yeah, you did your big cleanup a couple years ago.
I still watch a lot of YouTube channels, but for me, YouTube channels are popcorn. There are some I really, really like, but I'll drop off them for like... recently, I started watching a YouTuber again who I hadn't watched in 3 years. And I came back to his channel. He's doing the same thing as he was. Nothing had changed, but I was just in the mood for it again.
Our heat kicked on. I kind of worried about that.
Oh, well.
You guys will have a little interference, but it's pretty cold. So we're gonna deal with it today.
Also, it's already kicked on, so... Oh, well.
Yeah, you know. Last time it didn't make too big of an interference, so hopefully you guys aren't hearing anything crazy. Let's roll into favorite...
Honorable mention for TV shows.
Oh, yes, please.
It didn't get close to The Mandalorian because one is a really good adaptation, not perfect, but really good, of a series I don't give a shit about. And the other is an excellent adaptation of a series I love, of a franchise I love. So, you know, I mean, one was never going to win, but The Witcher is really fucking good. If you like the thing that The Witcher is, you will like The Witcher.
I saw the first episode, but I've been affected by TV burnout after the Star Wars marathon leading up to the...
So you just gotta wait for that bar to refill before you catch up to the rest. Understandable.
I've made this joke to you a bunch of times, but I haven't said it to the internet. As I understand it, I'm going to enjoy a lot of fuck and a little clever song. I imagine that's the rest of the series, and nothing more happens.
Hilariously, the song is barely in the series.
It seems like the internet does one of two things with a meme. Either they spoil every frame of a show,
or literally pick one tiny moment and talk about nothing that actually happens in the show.
That was me with Stranger Things. I thought Barb was this huge part of the show.
No.
Nope. Oh, internet. God, please change. Favorite RPG character you played? Why don't you roll first on this one, my friend?
Favorite RPG character I played is actually a character this year. Last year I did an NPC because I was DMing a lot. I still DM'd a lot, but I had a character who was really fun, who I want to play again if the opportunity comes up. Emerald Oathbreaker is a character I've talked about on the podcast a couple times. She is a dwarven barbarian / rock and roll star. She kills things with her axe / guitar. That's right, it's that completely tongue-in-cheek and amazing. I love Emerald. She's amazingly fun to play. I am usually the one who controls the music when we play D&D. So I have like a whole playlist of female-led metal songs that I just play whenever she's raging in combat. It is amazingly fun. And I would love to play her again. She's simple, she's uncomplicated, and it's a great time. I smash in doors and I beat heads.
I played a lot of characters in the last year, which has been lovely. I've made even more because my brain. But my favorite was an honorable mention from last year, Asterion. We wrapped up that campaign at the beginning of the year, and I think he was probably my favorite out of all of them. Now, that's not to say the rest were bad or anything. I had some really high contenders. Asterion is let's call him a high elf, because that's what he started out as, cleric of Arcana. And the whole deal was that he didn't know who his deity was. He just woke up one day with, cleric powers and went on a journey to find out. And he found out. And cool stuff happened. I don't know. You can't really relate a D&D campaign to people without intimate knowledge. Like, it's very much telling somebody about a dream you had. Unless they're like your best fucking friend, they don't care.
I mean, basically. And we do it a lot on this podcast, so hello, best
you guys
friends.
Are still watching, yeah. Props to you on that one. Surprise of the year. We are kind of burning through these, so we're probably going to ruminate toward the end of this podcast. But the surprise of the year, a.k.a. the I Was Wrong Award, I will take point on this one. Boy, howdy, did Return of the Jedi not age well. I have been suffering for years of people saying, man, Return of the Jedi, it's the worst of the original series. I can't believe people like Return of the Jedi. And I'm like, I love Return of the Jedi. For a long time, it was my favorite Star Wars film. When we watched it again this year, I got it. Like, I love so much of the background and the fluff and the character building in Return of the Jedi, but, like, I'm in it. I know it. It's how I scratch my ass in the morning. You know what I mean? It's natural. It's reflexive. So not getting into and going, well, who's that guy? Well, how did that guy get there?
Yeah, just getting to watch it as a movie.
Yeah.
It's a bad film.
It's just so slow-paced. There's a lot of stuff I really like, but especially the action scenes have not aged well. And
it's a bad movie. I'm sorry. I love it, but it is the love of a grandpa whose mind is going. Like, you love him, but, oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. No, that's not how pants are worn.
Is he a grandpa whose mind is going, or is he a bold new fashion designer?
You can never really tell.
They both take a lot of pills.
Hey! Mine was the reverse of this, almost diametrically, in fact. Boy howdy, did Attack of the Clones age super well and is way better than I remember. Way better. Having watched all of them recently, it's one of the better Star Wars movies. And for years, I derided it as the worst Star Wars movie. Literally, the worst. I defended Phantom Menace over it. I defended, aside from the holiday special, pretty much every Star Wars movie over Attack of the Clones. I was just wrong. Attack of the Clones is one of the better Star Wars movies. I was just a way too edgy of a teenager when it came out, I guess. I don't know how else to explain it. It's a good movie.
I've long been an Attack of the Clones apologist, so this was an interesting flip-flop. Trixie is here. If any of you out there in internet land have some cat sex for her, she's very interested. But I've been an apologist for Attack of the Clones since I saw it. I thought it was good, and I actually, it was one of the only prequel Star Wars movies I had on DVD back when I had DVDs.
I mean, you still do. We never watch them.
Well, they're Blu-rays. Well, I mean, I didn't throw them out a window or anything. But when collecting them was a thing, you know.
Yeah.
When I was salivating over the special editions of stuff and the extended commentaries.
And I remember that. I remember it was one of the only prequels you had, because I would see just Attack of the Clones alone there on the shelf and go, why only that one? It's the worst one. Nope. I was wrong. Very wrong.
However, still, now, second worst title in the Star Wars chronology.
Phantom Menace.
Oh, no. Rise of Skywalker is a stupid fucking title.
It makes no goddamn sense, yeah.
It only justifies its own existence by a fucking sentence at the end of the film. Stupid. That's a get butts in seats title. The same way Attack of the Clones is leftover pulp nonsense. I love pulp. I write pulp. But, that's... Anyway.
I mean, I don't care. It reserved The Clone Wars, which would have been the title if it wasn't Attack of the Clones, for the much better Clone Wars TV series, so I don't care.
Sure, that's all fine. But yeah, it was funny to see you going, oh, I guess this movie is good, and me watching Jedi and going, oh, no.
Oh, no, it's bad.
Oh, no. So, what about the favorite activity, or the thing you did most of this year? Why don't you take us away on that one?
Honestly, it hasn't changed from 2018. YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube. I do a lot of other stuff. I played a lot of video games this year.
You did.
I listened to a lot of podcasts. The stuff I've mentioned on this section before. I'm not exactly a guy who changes his habits a whole lot, I guess. But this year is the same as last year. I watch a lot of YouTube. It's almost entirely different YouTubers than last year. Mm-hmm. But it's still what I do.
No shame in that. You learn a lot. You laugh a lot.
I do. I learn so much. I learn about lockpicking and making things from scratch, and
that's what I love about YouTube over TV is the exacting choice you have in what you pick up. And obviously YouTube's not the only thing that does this. It's just the big platform right now. But you can really narrow in, and you can say, oh, I've been watching a lot of YouTube, and somebody else, based on their YouTube viewing experiences, might go, boy, you sure been just watching a lot of gamers play games. And there's some of that, I'm sure.
Yeah, there is.
I know what you watch, and I've seen all the really cool stuff that you've learned, and so many nuggets of it that you've kept. I've watched you pick up Babish shit and your cooking skills and stuff. It's nice.
I actually have. I've started. I'm a better cook now than I was last year because of Andrew Ray and Claire Saffitz and a bunch of other YouTubers, and it's very fun for me.
Yeah. Me personally, still the same as last year. Lots of role playing, which is awesome. That's one of my favorite activities. I've been driving a lot more though too.
You've, as you put it to me, and I don't know if you would use this on the podcast, but someone in your life taught you what a cheap good time gas is.
Yeah. I mean, I spent $15 at around, I don't know, 1 a.m., midnight, one Saturday night and was busy and having a good time until 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
That's the price of 2 movie tickets with no snacks. So, yeah, just driving around, visiting old places, just listening to music, chilling out. Usually at night. During the day, there's more people, so driving isn't great.
More stressful.
Yeah. I saw an article. I don't know the veracity of this, and I'm not trying to say it is, so don't take me that way. But I saw an article that said a lot more animals are becoming nocturnal or nocturnal again to avoid humans. And suddenly, an entire aspect of my life has made sense.
Yeah, that is why I do that. Okay.
Yeah. All right, well, here's a fun one for us. The anthem of the year, which is basically the song you listened to most that year. The song that you feel like carried you through a lot of the year, whether in a supportive way or just in a fun way or, however you choose to interpret that.
That's fair. Mine is more meta because, to be honest with you, I've listened to a lot of music this year, but I haven't listened to a lot of music repeatedly this year.
Yeah.
I spent a fair amount of the year exploring new music, trying to find inspiration for a big role-playing game that I'm DMing, and just generally sort of branching out. I haven't listened to anything repetitively very much, even music that I love, but given some, fun stuff I did early this year, and something we're not going to get into on the podcast, I had a meta pick for this year, which is the Megas, Program to Fight.
There you go. Megas are always a popular band around here.
They are one of the few bands I've ever seen in concert, and it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, it was a good time. My Spotify stopped working earlier this year. Well, my Spotify's fine. I don't pay for it at the moment because I'm not using it, but my little phone to tape converter car stereo thing is stuck in my tape player, and it won't come out.
Yeah, we don't have a new car because, well, we've got 14 viewers on YouTube.
Y'all want to sub to that Patreon, though? I mean, $5 from each of you every month. That's not a bad amount of money. That would help fund a new tape deck. Well, the whole thing is shot, though. Like, the only thing that plays through is radio. So instead of all of the, Outrun and Ninja Sex Party and Twerp and stuff like that I had been listening to, it was back to classic rock radio, which works because starting a little bit before the beginning of this year, to the end of this year, I have always had some special feelings when Def Leppard's Photograph came on. And it's been in my head a lot, too. More than probably any other song, except for this recent Christmas season, where it was replaced by the unintelligible Sia Puppies song.
Yeah.
They're not just for Christmas. Puppies are forever.
I'm good.
Not just for Christmas.
Stop.
I'm filling for time.
Fill another way.
All right. Podcast of the year. This is our little self-indulgent one. You know what? It used to be this way. Let's save that one for last. What about your favorite wrestling event?
Oof, this was a hard one for me because
we cut it out last year. For those of you who go to the 2018 one and are like, well, where the hell's the favorite wrestling event?
Also, it'd be weird if any of you did that.
No, it's not weird. It's cool. Do it. Hit the like button. Subscribe. What the fuck are you trying to do to me?
It's fair. But I guess I literally have this WrestleMania, I guess.
I mean, we were both pretty hyped.
Yeah, it was
big Kofi win.
It's more that none of the wrestling events I saw this year were amazingly memorable.
That was probably the biggest one, I think, because that was what got us to get the network again.
I'm literally wearing a wrestling T-shirt that I bought. It's a New Day T-shirt with Kofi as the champ that I bought specifically because he won the title. Like, he won it, and I bought it 10 seconds or maybe 10 minutes later because I was so excited they finally gave Kofi Kingston the title. He deserves it so much.
And where has that brought us?
Brought us
back to Brock.
It brought us a several month, very fun title reign.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing is permanent. Nothing isn't beautiful because it lasts.
No, it was a wonderful pay-per-view. Let's see how that Royal Rumble goes. We might have some fewer podcasts in the future. But I agree. WrestleMania 35 is a fantastic event. I also really liked AEW Dynamite's Halloween episode just because it was wrestling that was still cool while not taking itself too fucking seriously.
It is very much... AEW is very much an indie wrestling. Even if they have, like, a WWE-style, like, backer behind them who has a lot of money, their sensibility is very indie wrestling. Mm-hmm. They are willing to have fun. They don't take themselves too seriously. The costumes are really fun. It was good times were had by all. I like AEW a lot, actually. Some of the criticisms leveled at them by notable bag shitters in the wrestling industry aren't wrong. They're not wrong. A lot of the match psychology does kind of go out the window at times in favor of ...
Yeah, and, you know, it's something that needs to be improved on, and they're taking steps to improve it.
But, I mean, at the end of the day, they have JR on commentary. I'm going to like the show.
I feel like they're a great missing link between NXT and main roster WWE. NXT is pretty much serious all the time. Great talent, great matches. But it's hard to watch in bulk because I'm like, I'm very tired. You all are very growly.
They're very intense.
AEW gives that breath of fresh air. And they have Orange Cassidy, who's probably my favorite wrestling discovery of this year.
That's fair.
That's a really cool gimmick. All right, so back to where we were before. Podcast of the year. I'm going to go first because I've forced you to go first at gunpoint for the last few entries. That's right, I stole the gun from him, and now I'm in charge.
Help.
My favorite podcast this year was The Gauntlet Horror Movies. We owe you guys another Gauntlet, I know, but just go back and watch that one again because Team Matthew Lillard.
It was very funny.
And I had such a good time making it, and I think we both just laughed a whole bunch in the whole process, including the recording. There were a lot of really fun podcasts we did this year, and I'm actually really proud of how the Gauntlet went and how the year of D&D has gone.
I'm glad you picked a slightly more serious pick, because the Gauntlet has been one of... We started it this year, and it's been one of the more successful things we've done with the podcast this year. I don't watch view counts, so I don't know if y'all liked it. I don't care. I have a great time doing Gauntlets.
Yeah.
I didn't. This podcast has no title, just cat and guinea pig names.
That was my second pick.
Oh my god! It is such a pure example of the thing that made me want to do a podcast with White in the first place. It is just it is the two of us looking at and riffing on bonkers bullshit as friends. And it is so fun. It was so fun to record. It makes me laugh now, and I listened to it earlier today, like 45 minutes ago, because we've been recording for 30 minutes. And I was laughing despite the fact that any longtime listeners of the podcast will know I despise the sound of my own voice, and I'm constantly baffled that any of you are willing to listen to me talk. So, even then, I still find this podcast hilarious. So there's just, like, I pulled up a bunch of the ones I remembered liking, and then I got to this one and closed the rest of the tabs. It's not close.
I love that they're basically the opposite end of the spectrum on what we do in a podcast. Because one of them is something that took us a lot of time and effort. We put a lot of creative energy into it. It was a couple of days of build-up before we actually did it, just like any Gauntlet. Like, that's the Gauntlet in general. It's why we don't do them a lot, is because they take a lot of time to get into. And then even once we get there, they're long podcasts where we go into a lot of detail. This one especially, because we had a third group of characters.
The winners.
And then I believe we had a different podcast we were going to do, and we threw it the fuck out the window because you found this cool list of names on the internet.
Yes, literally the first sentence is, it's a dumb one. It's a dumb one this week. And then the explanation is, we were going to do Steam releases, but now we're not. We're doing this.
That's the beginning and the end, the alpha and the omega of the Two Nerds podcast, and chef kiss.
It is, I know there's not a wealth of you, and that's okay. Because I appreciate all of you who are willing to listen. But at the end of the day, I do this podcast with my friend because I like talking with him.
Same. We do this for fun. It's our Sunday brunch. It's
Hey, what you been up to this week, pal?
Yeah. I mean, we talk in between. It's not like we're wrestlers and we're silent until we meet again.
We're roommates. It's not like it's a single, like I come in and it's a single one nod, and then I go back to what I was doing until it's time for us to have the podcast. Honestly, I think the podcast might be better if we did that, because we'd have a lot of, like,
it would
pent up energy.
It would both be worse and 3 hours long.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, you're right. It'd be way shittier and 3 hours long unless one of us, you, edited it.
And I'm not gonna do that.
I think they know that, my man.
Hey, I've been editing pretty well these last couple of weeks.
That's right. The podcasts you've been listening to are edited.
Yes.
Imagine how terrible they were before.
Yes. Yeah. Put that in your photoreceptors and chew it.
I'm going to let that one breathe for a second.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, the heater has finally kicked into a lower gear, meaning the Ohio winter has stopped trying to murder us quite as hard. And I think that signals, that's the high sign. Time to go home. How was 2019 as both for the podcast and for you in general in terms of, like, entertainment, media, the stuff we talk about on here?
I honestly felt like this year, outside of the FGC, this year in gaming was quiet. And I know all of you listening are going, what the fuck are you talking about? X, Y, and Z game came out. I didn't give a shit about them. And that's me as a game playsman.
Game playsman.
Yes, that's, I believe, the official term.
Yes,
licensed by Nintendo. We had some great games that I did play. We had Pokemon came out. And we had, like I said, all the fighting games that came out were amazing. We're living in another fighting game renaissance, as I predicted. I'm just being a dick here. I didn't actually. But I don't know. There's just not been anything that came out this year that really grabbed me by the tits and made me play it. You know? Even Pokemon, I waffled really hard on before I got it. But otherwise, fuck movies kind of too. It seemed after Endgame, everything kind of trickled.
I know why that happened. I agree. That same thing happened to me, but I know why. For me, it was because I knew, like I mentioned earlier, after Endgame, no movie was going to stand a chance. I had to give it after Endgame, it was like a whole 2 months before I watched another movie.
Well, and maybe Hollywood knew too, because I just didn't see anything I was that interested in. The live-action Disney remakes of Lion King and Aladdin, I was marginally interested in, and I still haven't seen them.
But stop.
Oh, wait, I forgot Cats! You gotta see Cats in the movie. A Jellicle cat looks horrifying.
It's a demon that eats human skin.
2019 best year for film. We had your Cats, you had your Endgame. What more does you need?
You know what? In that way, it was the most year for film. It had the highs, it had the lows.
2 whole Star Wars films came out in one.
With a really good one and the other one.
Oh my God.
For me, gaming this year there were a couple games that really, like, grabbed me and made me finish them.
Yeah.
I'm still playing Red Dead Redemption 2, despite being most of the way through the story at this point, and for the last most of the game, I have known that this only ends one way, beyond knowing the story of Red Dead Redemption, and thus being able to guess at some things. The story does a great job of foreshadowing on its own that this story only has one way of ending.
Dutch gets his buddy a pony, and they sing a song together as they go arm in arm into the sunset.
And the Reapers turn into ice cream.
The Reapers did turn into ice cream.
But I'm still playing it. Spider-Man was the same way. The Shadow of the Tomb Raider was the same way. I may have said Rise earlier.
Rise of the Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Extended Special Edition Cut Deluxe Anniversary.
There you go. But for me, the big dip this year was music. Like I said, nothing really hooked into me this year.
That's my old person thing. I watch your young people TV shows. I'm on the movies. I've seen the YouTubes. I look at the TikToks. I get it. I'm still youthful in all those ways. But man, with music, I listen to stuff and I'm like,
Music really was better when I was the most emotionally vulnerable to music.
I've had a harder time this year more than previous years attaching to new stuff and finding it. And that's, with me this year specifically, going out looking for it. Getting that Spotify subscription late last year and carrying into this year. I've been listening to a metal radio station online that I used to not have access to around here. And I hear some new metal now and then, but it's not... Well, I hear some new metal, and then I hear metal that is new.
Right.
Those are different. And it's... I don't know. I don't know. This year, music, even pop music. What the fuck?
Did have Old Town Road. Pop music had that. That was fun.
Which was about Red Dead Redemption, which really just full circles here.
Yeah, it's
Cowboys.
Cowboys.
The Mandalorian.
Good. Cowboys good. Cowboys good. I got nothing else.
No, I don't. Other than like a howdy partner or something like that, I'm spent.
All right, Cowboys good. Everything's better when nerds talk about it.